Hey, so I found this interesting article from Business Insider, and it talks about a study that says that the number of interracial marriages in the US has increased quite a lot since the popularity of online dating has increased. Now, right now, we don't know, if that really means anything, if online dating has really played a role in that, but it's still very interesting, especially because people have spent so much time talking about these studies from men who date online where they say that they view us as undesirable, right? So I think that we really have to start thinking a bit more critically when we see these surveys, because one question that I have is, okay, what part of the country are these men from? Because we only make up about 6 or 7% of the US population. So there are quite a few areas in the country where you can be born and raised in and stay in your entire life and never come across a black woman. So I would be interested to know if there's a difference in the way that men respond depending on their proximity to black women. You know what I mean? So if a guy is from a metropolitan area and he comes across a lot of different black women from different social and economic groups, is there a difference in how he responds versus a guy who's from a place where he never really expects to come across a black woman? And the reason I say that is because I know that when I've come across people from different parts of the world where they never really met or came across black women from the US until they immigrated here and then moved certain places, their view of black women was based on, what's produced by the entertainment industry. So, movies, TV shows, and music. But once they actually came here and were in areas where they were around black women from a variety of different backgrounds, their views changed. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder if it's the same for these guys that never really see black women in real life, so their only opinion of us is based on what they hear on social media or what they see through the entertainment industry, right? And if there's a difference in the way that those two groups of men respond, then we could just look at those surveys and say that, it's possible that men respond to those surveys based on the women that they actually expect to come across in their everyday life. And we could possibly say that these men, at least in some cases, may be responding a certain way because of certain stereotypes that are put out there by the media. Okay? Because one thing that made me really think about this is, I don't know if you all remember a few months back where there was this whole national controversy about whether or not a principal can tell people coming into their school how to dress. And she didn't just have a dress code for the women, she was also telling the men, hey, don't sag your pants, don't wear wife beaters in the school because we have a dress code for the staff and the students, and so you have to adhere to that dress code too. No one paid attention to that, but all of this attention was given to, whether or not it's directed at black women when you have a dress code that says no bonnets and no sleepwear. And to me, part of the reason that became a national conversation and the reason that certain people were defending people wearing sleepwear in public is because it ties back to this whole thing where you have certain people who are very concerned about projecting certain images of black womanhood. So they promote the images that are not as favorable. Do you know what I mean? So that when people see this, if these are people who never actually come across black women, and they see this and then they see so many black women supporting things like that, those kind of things can affect the way that people view us in terms of dating or marriage, right? Now, for other groups of people who routinely come across black women, they know that, in a lot of metropolitan areas where you have black women of some affluence, you're never going to see them coming out of their house in a bonnet or sleepwear. Do you know what I mean? So they may not pay as much attention to those conversations, but you have to wonder why, that became so important when you're really only talking about 6 or 7% of the population. And it all ties back to this whole untrue narrative that people try to push about black women and our desirability. And so they'll put forth these surveys and they'll say, well, see, this is really how other groups of men feel about you. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We have some questions. And these people understand the importance of asking those questions anytime there's a survey that's put out that reflects poorly on black men. But a lot of times as black women, we don't do the same thing. We don't ask the questions, well, who are these people surveyed? What's their age group, their geographic region, so on and so forth. So this article from Business Insider, I think it is very interesting. Ladies, I know in this space we all know that black women are definitely desirable and valued, okay? And we also know that these surveys can't really be much of a reflection on real life because as this article from Business Insider and, surveys like the Pew Research Center and others point out, the rate of interracial marriage, particularly for black women, is increasing. And it's going to be very interesting to see what the numbers are in 2020 and maybe beyond, because I think the numbers are going to be even higher. All right? So don't pay so much attention to these negative surveys, especially when people don't really give you kind of the demographic information of the people surveyed. And don't get pulled into these conversations. Just focus on what you're seeing in your real life. Focus on the fact that there are men of all racial backgrounds that are going to be attracted to attractive women, whatever our skin color is. All right? I'm going to talk to you guys soon. Bye.